Hello, and thank you for joining me on ILTV. I'm Aaron Porras, and for the last few years, it's been my pleasure to provide you with the insider's look at Israel and the Middle East in English. Your support for us means the world. But there's so much more of Israel to see and do. That's why I'm honored to introduce our all-new streaming platform, ILTV Plus, where you'll find all of the classic and original ILTV content that you know and love, plus so much more. I'm talking more direct engagement with me and the ILTV team, live streams from holy sites, interviews and lectures with the nation's top minds and personalities, and virtual walking tours across the country, just to name a few. What you won't find are ads, sponsored content, and special interests. It's just Israel 24/7 in the palm of your hand. So sign up for your free trial today at ILTV.tv or through the Apple app and Google Play stores. See you there. Hello and welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Aaron Porras, and before we begin, I want to again remind you not to forget about our all-new streaming platform, ILTV Plus, available on every app store and at ILTV.tv. Now, coming up in today's newscast, protesters hitting the streets rallying against the coalition as the Knesset meets to hopefully approve a budget. Meantime, Israel signing a number of new agreements in the fight against climate change. And finally, an incredible wildlife photographer sharing his experiences documenting disappearing landscapes. The day has finally come. For the first time in over 3 years, Israeli lawmakers getting set to vote on some several hundred amendments as part of the long-awaited national budget. If the new coalition fails to pass a budget by the deadline of November 14, however, it's back to elections for Israel.
אנחנו בישורת אחרונה, ולפנינו ימים מתישים ולילות לבנים בכנסת, אבל התקציב יעבור. העברת התקציב תאפשר לנו את היציבות הפוליטית והכלכלית שדרושה להתמודד עם האתגרים הגדולים הבאים, לדוגמה, העלייה במחירי הדלק והתובלה הימית, חומרי הגלם, שמביאה לעליות המחירים. ואנחנו צריכים לראות שאצלנו לא מנצלים את הגל העליות העולמי להעלאת מחירים כללית.
Not everyone offering support, though. Thousands of right-wing voters organized by opposition parties like the Likud and religious Zionism taking to the streets of Tel Aviv on Tuesday to call for toppling the government. And in fact, protesters holding signs accusing Prime Minister Bennett again of being a criminal, a liar, and a thief. But joining me with more is Knesset member for the religious Zionism party, Simcha Rotman, and Rabbi Dov Lipman, founder and director of government relations with Yad Le'olim, and former Knesset member for the Yesh Atid party. Now, Simcha, I'm going to start with you. First of all, thank you so much for being back with us again. Bennett called the protests last night inconceivable. He said that his weapon is the truth and that the coalition is putting the country back on track. Your party, meantime, helped to organize last night's protest. What are your primary issues with the government?
I think that when you say that his weapon is the truth, he's weaponless, basically, because of all the lies that started this government to begin with. Bennett promised a week before election he will never be in a coalition with the Ram party, with the terror-supporting party of Ram, that he will never let Yair Lapid be a co-prime minister with him, that he will never join forces with Meretz. If that's the truth, I don't really know what he defines as lies.
Well, wouldn't it be fair to say that someone in the Knesset was lying, or there wouldn't be a government, period? Because everybody made contradictory promises that if everyone held to those campaign promises, there's no way that any party could get to 61.
And first, there is a little bit of a difference between I will not sit with this guy or that guy to I will not join forces with a terror-supporting party. I think you can argue that there is a difference between any kind of promise, and this promise not to sit with a terror-supporting party that Bennett's party himself asked to be disqualified from the Knesset. That would be a red line that has been crossed. And besides, I think that to declare there were many other options that did not require any lie. There were many offers that were made for other prime ministers from the Likud. There were many options for different kind of governments. The truth is that Naftali Bennett wanted to be a prime minister no matter what. He sacrificed his promises, he sacrificed his voters. And you see the numbers. You see that in the latest poll, he does not pass the threshold. We have a prime minister that has basically zero public support. That's not something a democratic country should stand.
All right, well, with respect at least to the Ram Party allegations against the Ram Party, while there are problematic members of that party, it is important to note that former Prime Minister Netanyahu was also trying to court party head Abbas. So we can discuss about that. But Rabbi, I want to bring you in. Rabbi, I want to bring you in for a moment. You know, how do you respond?
Just a second.
I'll be right back with you, Simcha. Dov, I want to start with Dov and allow you to maybe respond to some of the allegations that Simcha made, and then Simcha will come back to you.
So first of all, to Simcha's credit, I believe that his party was very clear that they would never sit together with the Ram party. The point that you made, Aaron, is a very, very good one about Netanyahu, because he was definitely willing to do so. There was a decision that has been made by a number of parties to give up on certain ideological stances for the sake of there being a government. The decision was made that this is what Israel needs at this time, not continued cycles of elections. So Bennett gave up on ideology for that. Meretz gave up on ideology for that. Ram gave up on ideology for that. All of them are giving up on things for that purpose. And that is the ultimate disagreement here. And I'm not taking one side or the other. I'm just saying they have made an acknowledgement that they are going against their ideologies, and they might even be hit, as Simcha said, as Member Knesset Rotman said, in the polls, in order for there to be a government. You're asking me, I do believe that there's a overwhelming majority of Israel that is happy that there is a government, that there is functioning, that we're not just in this continued cycle of tearing each other apart in elections, and that a budget will be passed. Having said that, the opposition is doing a wonderful job. That's their job. Bring people out to the streets, expose the failures, and that's part of the parliamentary system that we have. And I'm actually, as an outsider, very happy to see all of this playing out the way the parliament should ultimately play out.
Simcha?
First, I want to say thank you, but what Netanyahu promised or did not promise Ram, that's debatable. I'm not getting into this different versions of the reality. Netanyahu says that Ram is lying, that they did not promise that, but it really doesn't matter. What matters is that Bennett said exactly like our party before the elections, and even after the elections, that he will never join forces with a terror-supporting party. Now, having a government is important. No one can argue that. But you cannot say, oh, at least we have a government when the government supports terror, when the parts of the funds that are now being debated in the Knesset, in the budget, will definitely pass to terror organizations because of the connection, the ties between Ram and the Hamas. So having a government is important, no question about it. Having a government with a terror-supporting party is an illegitimate action by itself, even without the promises, the very clear promises not to do so. It's definitely not democratic and non-legitimate when it's against the promises made to the voters.
Dov?
I will agree with Member Knesset Rotman that if it's determined that funds are going towards terror organizations, you will have 80–90% of Israel against that. And this will be a test for this government. If they can show that the money is going to help infrastructure, education, needs in the Arab sector, I think people will celebrate that happening. But if they are not able to rein that in, and they're not able to make sure that it goes to those services and it goes to terror, I believe that every single party in this government will be hurt politically by that. And that will ultimately be the true test to see, are they successful in this venture or not?
All right, well, we have a lot to consider, especially ahead of the marathon talks and negotiations in the Knesset over the budget. So I hope to confer with both of you in the near future ahead of the deadline. Thank you both again so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.